All right, back by popular demand, John Nabors, host of the Out of Bounds on 103.7 The Buzz, and of course, Locked On Razorbacks. John, how's it going there in the great state of Arkansas?
Oh, just another banner year for Razorback football, going 4-8 and getting to talk about it, and nobody really feeling good about the future of Razorback football. So no, it's going awesome. Great Thanksgiving, really great.
Right. So I want to ask, go all over that. But before we do, I want to thank you because we got officially well over 1 million views on a clip that, at SEC Media Days did pretty well. I think it had like 200,000, that's even good for me. But over 1 million, thanks to you.
Plays, I believe, 7 games in Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. I think they should go undefeated in Fayetteville.
Okay.
Or at least at home in Arkansas. I think they play again in War Memorial the first game of the season. They should go undefeated, and that includes their 4 non-conference games, but also Auburn, Mississippi State, and Missouri.
Yeah.
They should win all 3 of those games.
I love how Arkansas people just completely disregard Mizzou.
I know. Because it goes back to the thing where Arkansas is better than them, but they just don't win the game. It's just like, those years that Ole Miss beat Alabama back-to-back years. Was Ole Miss a better team than Alabama?
Yeah.
No. It just happened, and that's what it feels like with Missouri. Like, Drinkwitz has not had a winning record. That guy's not had a winning record.
South Carolina just said the same thing yesterday. It's like,
yeah,
like we lose it, but we shouldn't be. We were the better team.
Yes, and it's so that's where it's like I'm putting it as if you measure both teams on the field, talent-wise, all that, Arkansas is a better team. They should win the game. So that's where I'm putting that into the mix. But the game, honestly, that I believe that most people are writing off for Arkansas, at least the people I've talked to, I think it's that Florida game on the road.
Mm-hmm. Now, and you were not alone. Many people making fun of Mizzou at SEC Media Days, but I'm just going to give you this opportunity to I'm just curious if you're eager to amend those comments.
No. No, because I'm not going to backtrack off of something I said in the summertime and some prediction that I had and the way I feel about that game, as well as many Razorback fans feel that game. Like, that's what was so funny about that clip, man. Like, listen, I say stuff on the, just as you know, like, it's our business. Like, we make predictions. A lot of times we're wrong. A lot of times we're right. Like, but it's just good banter and everything. Mm-hmm. But the comment about Missouri, I don't know. It was a weird flex that these Missouri fans were trying to put on me, because I'm like, man, like, I don't understand what I said that was false, or at least that was so absurd. Because, going into the year, myself, like so many other people, felt like Arkansas was going to be a better team, and especially better than Missouri. Missouri had what was it, 3 straight losing seasons under Drinkwitz, hadn't really busted through yet. And so it just looked like on paper that's what it was going to be, is that Arkansas was going to be an improved team from the year before. And Missouri was kind of a team that most people, I think, finished 5th or 6th in the SEC East. So, that's how I felt at the time. And I still believe that the previous 3 seasons, Arkansas, that was 2-1 against Eli Drinkwitz at the time, Arkansas was a better team in all those games. It just was. And this year, guess what? Missouri was a better team. They have been all year long. And they beat Arkansas pretty handedly. And I believe that if Arkansas would have found a way to beat Missouri in that game on Friday, Missouri fans probably would have felt the same way the Razorback fans did over the past few seasons, of saying, we were a better team. We had a better season. We had more talent. We should have never lost to that team. That's all that I was saying. And so to see the reaction from not only Missouri fans, but players, I got Luther Burden tweeting at me about it. I'm like, what in the world? It's like, and then Eli Drinkwitz is retweeting, quote tweeting stuff. I'm just laughing about it. I was like, golly, the fact that they needed me to use me, of all people, as some sort of like motivational flex after beating a 4-8 Arkansas team. I was like, man, all right, well, I mean, congrats. You were a good team this year. No denying it. But it was just really weird. It was kind of crazy, though. I enjoyed it.
Right. And how soon they forget that leading up to Kansas State, they were booing their quarterback. They wanted their coach fired. But we forget our own mistakes and like to point at other people's mistakes in the past. But
yeah. Like, listen, Mike, let's be honest. Like, this is the same fan base that was celebrating when Trevin Brazile in basketball for Arkansas last year went out with a season-ending injury. Like, there were a lot of their fans on social media celebrating that fact because he's a transfer from Missouri. So, I mean, listen, we all know how fans can be, but their fan base has had some history of those things too. But like you said, yeah, it's like how soon we forget when winning cures all and just makes you move on. And it's like nothing ever happened.
Well, one place where that's not been happening, at least on the gridiron, is Fayetteville. And so got to take a different direction here. I was just joking with you, but no, it's true. I mean, I just watched latest Locked On Razorbacks, and it was, it was pretty depressing watch, and I understand it because it was a depressing season. But where are we at with Sam Pittman? I know many of us anticipated a coaching search, which obviously is not happening. And on my live show last night, John, I mean, we were talking Mike Elko to A&M. We were talking Jeff Lebby to Mississippi State. And every Arkansas fan in there says, when's our search going to begin? I mean, that's the mindset, which is just a terrible place to be in.
Yeah, it is a weird, unique time right now for Arkansas fans, because I feel like over the past few days, especially, where Sam Pittman had his press conference after the game and had I cocked a little attitude towards a question that was asked, which I thought was a legitimate question about, hey, since Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director for Arkansas, has backed you, and after this performance that you just had against Missouri, where do you find the momentum? Where do you find the energy into the offseason? And he said, I don't know, someone else.
Yeah, Coach, with Hunter giving you his backing for next year and just trying to generate some momentum going into the offseason. With this performance, how do you generate that going into the offseason?
I don't know. Somebody else. Situation.
Might not have phrased it right at the beginning, but I was just kind of asking about that in terms of the momentum with the program. Is it a big splash hire, OC? Is it landing some big studs in the transfer portal? What creates the momentum to turn this program?
Well, I think the first thing is you got to go find an offensive coordinator. One that wants to be here, one that it'd be fun if a guy understood the state, and understood the SEC and all those type things. I will say this, that Arkansas is very well respected by some of the folks that I've been able to talk to, and I feel very, very good that we'll get an offensive coordinator that wants to be here and wants to help lead our program to a lot of great things. But were you talking about the NIL again? No, what were you saying? Just the coordinator. That we need to get in pretty quick. We need to get that. Oh, you're talking about yeah. Well, what you got to do is you got to get the right coordinator that is going to help us win, and then we've got to start. To be honest with you, Trey, if we just started going, okay, this guy committed, this guy committed, this guy committed. You know what I mean? Just change instead of just nobody commits, where's our coordinator, all that stuff. Obviously, that's going to fester. But if we can get a coordinator that we believe we can score points and then go get some starting, honestly, with soaring up the offensive line, I think we can get momentum back. We obviously have been invited to three bowl games in the last 4 years. This one right here is a disappointing year. More so, to be honest with you, that there was way, way higher optimism about this year than what it ended up being. And we got to change it. We got to fix it. And but I think you asked me before, too. There's no doubt in my mind I'm the guy that can change it, especially with the opportunities that we've been afforded.
Isn't just to move on, I batted away. And I'm like, that is the worst thing you could possibly do. That should have been your opportunity to go out and say, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to hire an offensive coordinator that's going to be amazing. I'm going to bring in some great players. We're going to fix these problems. And we're going to do this in the offseason. We're going to get better. We're going to focus on getting better and developing and recruiting. And we're going to come out. We're going to be a better team next year. Like, that's what you should have said. But with him saying that and just kind of blowing it off and moving on, and then on top of seeing other programs that seem to be, at least on paper, a little bit more serious about their football program and the direction they're going, how do you feel excited if you're a Razorback fan about the future? Like how does anyone feel good right now about Sam Pittman and the future of Razorback football? You can't point to anything. So it's weird because I felt like the comment that he made and kind of blowing it off about the question. I said this on my podcast. It sounded to me almost like a coach that's about to get fired, but he's not. That's like a coach that would make that comment would be someone who just knows he's kind of out the door, or, is just sensitive about it, whatever it is, but he's coming back. So how do you feel good about it? I don't. Most Razorback fans don't. And seeing other programs be able to have coaching searches and then move swiftly on those coaching searches and hire some guys that feel like they're probably some pretty good hires. You're kind of Arkansas just left. All right, well, I still got this. It's kind of like just a quick example. It reminds me of when, like, if you were in school as an elementary school kid and you had been growing up eating the same thing packed for lunch each and every day. And then a few years down the road, all of a sudden, all your friends around you start getting the really cool lunch that everybody wants. And then everyone's like, oh, man, I got the good Capri Suns and I got the great, Lunchables or whatever. And it's like, well, I still got the same sack lunch and boring that I've had this whole time. Like, that's kind of how Razorback fans feel. Everybody else is having fun, getting cool stuff. It's like, well, we still get the same stuff that we've been eating for the past few years. So it's a frustrating time.
That's why I hate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to this day, John, because I got it every damn day for about 6 years. But but we do know a coordinator hire is imminent. So I don't know who that is going to be. Maybe you do. But what are the chances that if Sam Pittman hires, gets a home run hire as an offensive coordinator, that they can turn this thing around?
I mean, I think that with the portal and NIL just being the way it is, it's a lot easier to turn around something in a year and just in one offseason. I think that looking at Arkansas's defense, I know it wasn't perfect, but it was so vastly, vastly improved from a year ago. Just shows you that if you get the right coaches in place, you get some guys out of the portal, it makes a difference and can make you competitive. So I think the ability to be able to change it is there, but it's just a matter of, okay, but who is going to do that? Because right now, like, Pittman's on a 1-year deal, essentially. It's like, hey, this is your 1-year shot. And if you're a coordinator, if you're a big-time coordinator, is that something you're going to want to walk into? And if you do walk into it, you're probably going to want maybe more guaranteed money. You're also going to want to know, okay, so what about the quarterback situation? Is it going to be am I going to have KJ Jefferson or am I going to have Jacoby Criswell? Am I going to have to go find somebody? I think there's just a lot of questions that have to be answered. The potential is there to make a huge turnaround, but the faith that will happen, just given the circumstances, is pretty low. So we'll see what Pitman does. I think he did a good job hiring a defensive staff, so I'll give him that benefit. If he can replicate that on the offense, it'll be a good thing, but it's just, how do you, as a great offensive coordinator and as a solid offensive coordinator, walk in this situation and feel good about it? It's tough.
Is it more important that he nails the offensive coordinator hire, or is it more important that they fix the offensive line and get a qualified offensive line coach in there?
Oh, offensive line, and it's not even close. I mean, this past year, Arkansas, if they would have just had an average offensive line, just average, they're probably going to a bowl game. Does it go? I don't think it goes from 4 wins to 8 wins, but at least go to a bowl game. And the offensive line was so bad. Bad. So you got to get that fixed, because it won't matter who's the quarterback if you can't block. And we saw that this year. And so they got to make that their number one focus in getting that righted right away. And then they can focus on the other things. But yeah, that needs to be first, second, and third priorities this offseason. Fixing that offensive line, because the quarterback's important. Yes, the coordinator's important. Yes, all that's important, but none of it matters if you don't have a line that's going to be able to block.
Mm-hmm. Is there any shot that KJ Jefferson returns, or is that just wishful thinking?
I would be shocked if he did, just to be honest. I think he put up an Instagram post on a story for the Missouri game, kind of like a one last time, something to that extent. So it just kind of gives a vibe that he's going to be moving on. I don't know if he's going to try to go pro or if he enters into the transfer portal. I think it's pretty fascinating. I'm not saying they would go this way, but knowing that Jeff Lebby got hired at Mississippi State, and KJ Jefferson's from the state of Mississippi, and Jeff Lebby, his relationship and family relationship with Kendall Briles, similar offenses, like maybe that would be somewhere that he goes and maybe talks about. I don't know, but I would be shocked if he ends up coming back next year as Arkansas's quarterback.
Any idea why Arkansas struggled so much at home. And looking ahead to next season, I mean, if you just look at the home slate, LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas, unless Arkansas makes major strides, I have to believe they're going to be underdogs in all those home games, conference games anyway.
Yeah, I think they're going to be underdogs pretty much in all the games next year. It seems like, at least the Power 5 ones. But yeah, that was listen, this year was bad. It was a bad, weird year. The schedule was really weird too. You open with a bunch of home games and you end with a bunch of home games, but then in the middle it's nothing but traveling. So it was just a weird thing overall. But by far the weirdest is that the worst games Arkansas had this year was at home. Now, how does that make sense? Like, even the Kent State game that you won, you looked like trash. And then we know BYU, like Mississippi State, 7-3. My God. That was a game that existed, and it happened in Fayetteville. And so you have that, and then you get trounced in your final two SEC games by Auburn and Missouri, which Missouri's a good team, but Auburn, lost to New Mexico State the next week at home. So I wish I had a reason. I don't know, because they played so much better on the road and away from Fayetteville. Like that is so opposite and so weird. I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, you got to fix that, not just because of the competition and everything, but season ticket holders are just not going to continue to spend their hard-earned money traveling up to Fayetteville and watching the worst performances of the year. It's just not going to happen. So they got to fix that. But it's a good home schedule next year, at least for matchup-wise. So that's
right.
Good.
On a scale of 0 to 100, 100 being most likely, obviously, what scale would you give it that Sam Pittman's our head coach in 2025?
Man, that's a good question. Right now, where it stands, I would give it a 20. Just because that schedule's brutal. Teams are getting better. You've gotten worse. You went from 9 wins to 7 wins to 4 wins. Like, unless, again, you just bring in an entire offensive staff and roster that really changes the entire game, it's hard for me to buy into it. So, yeah, right now I'd say 20 at best as far as him being the coach after next football season.
Yeah. Well, that's actually higher than I thought you would have went. So go with me here. Let's say, and again, I root for Sam Pittman. I hope he turns it around. But if he doesn't, obviously we're going to have a coaching search here. Who do you think Arkansas would rather have? Gus Malzahn or Rhett Lashley, who, he runs that Gus system and doesn't come with the baggage.
Golly, dude, like this, this is something that I'm not laughing at you at the question. It's just funny because I just want to get over the Malzahn thing. It's like he's burned at Arkansas like 5 times.
Right.
And it's like, what point do you just say, he's not coming back? But as far as for the instant's sake, between those two, I think Razorback fans would maybe at this point rather have Malzahn, just because Malzahn at least is proven to win as a head coach in the SEC. Mm-hmm. And, would he go into Arkansas and be able to replicate what he did at Auburn? I don't know. Probably not. But I feel like at worst, Malzahn would be a coach that gets Arkansas to a 6-7 win season every year at worst.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'd probably do Malzahn. Go with Malzahn.
Well, the only reason I bring that up, because, again, I don't know how valid this is, but I have heard rumblings that anybody that missed it, Rhett Lashley just signed an extension, and he was waiting to see what Arkansas was going to do with Pitman. So I think he's got eyes on that job. So that's just something to keep your eye on. And then last, I get this, not a troll, because I think these are 2 quality coaches here, but would Arkansas rather have Barry Odom as head coach or Eli Drinkwitz, he's an Arkansas man, and hell, he looks like a winner nowadays.
Yeah, he's a big Arkansas man. Yeah, everyone loves Drinkwitz at Arkansas, and everyone had heard of Drinkwitz too when he was here at Arkansas. Yeah, he was a very big deal. Honestly, I think they'd rather have Barry Odom, and I'm not saying that just because of the Drinkwitz and the rivalry and all that stuff. Like, I just feel like there's something to be said about Odom and the job he's done, and I think that honestly, a lot of the issues Sam Pittman had as a head coach this year was not having Barry Odom, who was a fine head football coach material. Like, I mean, he is. And look at what he's done at ULV. I mean, that program was down in the dumps, and he's got it to what is a 9-10 win season this year. So I think that they would rather have someone like Odom And Odom is a guy that I think is proven and has a lot to where, I think he's learned a lot too from his Missouri experience and even his Arkansas experience to where, it could be something that he's better at. And if he gets the right offensive coach, like that'd be the thing. But hey, dude hired Bobby Petrino at UNLV before Bobby Petrino left. And I thought that was a good hire for him. So,
right.
But yeah, so I'd probably go with Barry Odom at this point.
All right, John. Well, hey, I really appreciate you, particularly being a good sport with all these crazy Mizzou fans that are stealing my mentions. I can only imagine what yours look like this weekend. Before you go, can you tell the audience where can they follow you? Where can they find your work?
Yeah, so Locked On Razorbacks podcast, wherever podcasts are found. You can also watch it on YouTube as well, and follow me on my social media at Buzz John Nabors. And I appreciate the Missouri fans for using it. It's just I just find it truly funny because I'm like, I did not think I said anything that was. Now if I would have come out and said Missouri is a trash program and Arkansas is superior in every way, okay, maybe you have an argument. But it's like I literally was just talking about that game and having some fun with it. And they wanted to use that as sheer motivation. But hey, I'm just glad I could add something to the rivalry that has not really existed. But maybe this is the type of stuff that can help it exist. But you know who also outside of Arkansas and Missouri care about this game? No one at all. So I'm glad that they have a good year and they have a great season. Again, I'm giving them credit. I picked them to win. But it's just funny to me how this has happened in this way. And I've gotten a lot of attention as well as my podcast and my content. So I should thank them, honestly, for doing it.